Forget about your nightmares because this is something straight out of a sci-fi horror movie. A xenomorph inside a giant squid? Witness the horrific birth of a creature that will haunt your sleep. It started with sonar anomalies. Submarines cruising the Mariana Trench began picking up strange disturbances. Vast shadows moving faster than anything known, defying classification. Marine biologists chalked it up to echo distortions. Naval intelligence remained quiet. But beneath the waves, something ancient met something alien, and horror was born. Deep in the darkness of the ocean, where sunlight had never kissed the silt and the pressure would crush any man-made hull like a soda can, a lone deep-sea drone swam silently. It was part of a multinational exploration initiative to map the ocean floor. Cameras rolled, sensors scanned, and automated arms collected samples. But it wasn't data that the operators first noticed. It was silence. The constant chatter of the ocean, the clicks of dolphins, the distant calls of whales, the subtle seismic murmurs of shifting plates, vanished. Then the drone's feed went dead. When the footage was retrieved from its memory core weeks later, it only showed a glimpse. Something massive, swirling tentacles, a burst of bioluminescent flicker, and a shriek not from the machine but something else entirely. The scientific community was puzzled. But in a classified lab under a military base in Alaska, two entities were monitoring the ocean floor. One, a joint U.S. and European Defense Task Force. The other, Weyland-Yutani. Yes, that Weyland-Yutani. They knew what had gone wrong. Months earlier, an unmarked orbital research pod had crashed into the Pacific. It carried experimental xenomorph strains, bred in microgravity conditions. Every trace was supposed to be wiped on impact, but the pod, reinforced to withstand re-entry, didn't disintegrate. It sank, intact, and something inside survived. In the trench, miles away from human eyes, a giant squid had encountered the foreign object. It had no fear. At that size and depth, it was the apex predator. Or so it thought. The squid coiled around the pod. Metal groaned. The hatch opened. What emerged wasn't fully formed. An embryonic xenomorph, aquatic adapted, sleek, eel-like with translucent limbs. It had no mouth at first, only a pulsing orifice of jagged, embryonic fangs. It latched onto the squid's skin. A normal facehugger would need a mammalian host. This was something different, something bred to adapt. It didn't inject an embryo. It merged. Acidic blood met resilient tissue. The squid tried to shake it off, lashing its tentacles, churning water in whirlpool-like chaos. But the fusion had already begun. The hybridization wasn't a clean implantation, it was cellular invasion. Xenomorph DNA, aggressive and insatiable, surged through the squid's bloodstream like a virus. Over days, the squid's skin darkened, its neurons reprogrammed. Tentacles became ridged with retractable talons. Its eyes faded to glassy black pools. Its flesh shimmered with unnatural bioluminescence, forming patterns mimicking other deep-sea creatures. A predatory trick and a xenomorph's camouflage instinct in one horrific union. The transformation wasn't complete until the squid found its first prey, a pod of deep-sea whales. The hybrid moved faster than it ever had before. Its arms didn't wrap, they impaled. Its beak had split, now lined with razor-toothed mandibles. And at its core something grew. A new queen, not of earth, not of water, something in between. She nested in a thermal vent, heat incubating dozens of translucent eggs, pulsing softly, waiting to hatch. Meanwhile, on the surface, ships had begun disappearing. First, a deep ocean trawler went silent. Then a private luxury submersible carrying tourists. Then an American nuclear sub. The Navy denied everything. But in quiet conference rooms, Admiral Keane of the Pacific Command stared at blurred satellite images showing a massive form weaving between tectonic rifts. And behind her, an agent of Weyland-Yutani watched with keen interest, saying little. They dubbed it Project Leviathan. The infected squid, if it could still be called that, grew bolder. It began surfacing at night, dragging down oil rigs, clawing holes in cargo ships. Survivors described glowing lights in the water, then pain, blood, and silence. The hybrid had developed an ability no squid possessed: emission of pheromones. It lured prey from miles away. Sharks, whales, even dolphins followed it like slaves. It used them as guards, weapons, food. Drones deployed into the depths returned shredded. Submersibles disappeared. Sonar showed a living storm circling a trench cave, now labeled a red zone. Still, no one knew what it was. Then it attacked the USS Nimitz. The aircraft carrier, cruising near the Philippine Sea, registered a massive underwater collision. The hull groaned. Hull plates bent inward. Jets failed to launch as tentacles, armored and serrated, climbed up the side. The hybrid breached the surface, towering like a leviathan from mythology, its form pulsating with alien light, eyes gleaming with fury. Marines opened fire. Nothing worked. Bullets ricocheted off chitinous armor. Acid blood burned through metal. The creature retreated only after taking 20 men and leaving a hole the size of a helicopter in the deck. Then came the broadcasts. Morse code, translated from garbled frequencies sent from the Nimitz, spelled one word: Queen. The world changed after that. Oceanic evacuation zones were declared. Nations began deploying sonar fences. Global shipping routes were redrawn. Fishing industries collapsed overnight. And the oceans went quiet again, but not in peace. In the deep, the queen brooded. The eggs hatched. But they weren't like regular xenomorphs. These swam. Their tails were elongated, tipped with serrated fins. Their limbs were thinner but stronger. Their jaws opened not just forward, but sideways, like deep-sea predators. They didn't just kill. They converted. Each kill, each new host, sperm whale, giant eel, even smaller squid, became something worse. By the time the hybrid swarm was detected, the Pacific Trench had become a living biome of alien evolution. Coral reefs warped into nests. Vent fields glowed green. Entire ecosystems fell into silence. And then humanity struck back. A coalition of nations, led by Japan, the US, and Australia, launched Operation Black Wave. They sent deep-sea nukes, electromagnetic pulse charges, prototype subfighters armed with freezing torpedoes. The Queen was targeted directly, her nest located via deep-sea tremor mapping. The battle was apocalyptic. Torpedoes exploded against armor. Subfighters were ripped in two. EMPs fried drones, but not the Queen. She had evolved a second, inner brain, shielded by an organic lattice. Finally, a nuclear torpedo struck the vent chamber. The explosion was visible from satellites. The sea boiled. Silence returned. Or so they thought. 6 months later, a tourist cruise ship passing near the equator spotted something strange on the water. Bioluminescent ripples, like soft dancing lights. It looked beautiful, serene. Then the ocean cracked open. From beneath, something surged upward, taller than before, glowing brighter, carrying dozens of egg sacs on its back. It wasn't just one queen anymore. It was a species. They had survived. They had adapted. And now they were coming to the surface, not just to feed, not just to hunt, to colonize, because for the xenomorphs, Earth was always just a host. And the ocean had merely been their womb. Now their birth was complete.